We live in a world where owning physical games is beginning to mean less and less, with so many games require DRM check-ins, or games that could only be played online, and once the server goes off, your physical copy becomes worthless. But it's not just multiplayer games that's being affected by this. Even now, single player campaigns and the offline components of games are slowly becoming exclusive to digital only. In fact, even now, if you go to the store and buy the disc, you may come home, put the disc in your console of choice, only to discover that you have a massive download. Well, we're starting to realize part of the problem is sometimes the disc only has a licensing key on it for a digital download. Let's take a moment of silence to pay our respects for the physical copy of Modern Warfare 2. Alright guys, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I would like to take a moment and welcome anyone new to the channel. If you are new, please consider subscribing and liking if you do enjoy the video. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below. I always love hearing your guys' thoughts and opinions on any of the subjects of my videos. But yeah, that is kind of morbid that I dropped that in after a funeral scene. But anyways guys, we have a lot to get into, so let's get into it. So apparently Activision has just released another smashing successful Call of Duty. But this time, there's one little problem. If you buy the game physically, the game is not actually on the disc. It looks like even if you have the disc that you could hold in your hand, all you pretty much have is a digital copy of the game. The Blu-ray version of the game has a total of 72 megabytes worth of data. This is absurd. So for those that don't know, the game is supposedly to be 35 gigs worth of data, but you are only getting 72 megabytes. So really quick, just so we're all caught up to speed, and I'm sure not many of you guys are super nerdy like me, but if you are, please bear with me. Each gig has approximately 1,000 megabytes worth of data. So with 72 and 35 gigs, you're getting approximately 0.2% of the game actually on the disc, which is probably none of the game on the disc. What you're actually getting is a licensing key to download the game digitally. This is not counting the day one patches the game has. So fans are getting home and having to download and install about 60 gigabytes worth of storage just so they could play the game that they just went to the store and bought. So to sum things up, this pretty much means you must have an internet connection to download the game before you can even play the offline single player campaign. This is a major issue I have. Some people buy physical not just because they enjoy owning their games, not just because they like having a collection of games on the shelf, but simply because they do not have an internet connection at all or have a very limited internet connection. Now, the option of buying physical and bypassing the massive game downloads is slowly disappearing, and it is disappearing in a way that I believe is truly disingenuous to the consumer. Now, I do want to take a moment to say that I know that the box does say internet connection required, although I'm assuming that most people, if they're in the store and they don't really pay attention to like YouTube videos or gaming news and they see that, they're going to assume that that just means for the multiplayer, because that would be a normal assumption. You know, that'd be like an educated guess. Of course, for multiplayer, you need an internet connection. But it doesn't say for single player campaign that you can't even play the game when you get home if you don't have internet. So you may make this purchase and have a coaster until you're able to get your console online so you could at least play the offline portion of the game. So I just wanted to point out, I know it's on the box, but it should just literally say will not work at all if you have no internet, not downloadable content required. I mean, most people are going to assume that's just for the multiplayer portion of the game. So just to be clear, it is not just Activision that is pushing towards this digital only future that these publishers want. Microsoft is really focused on xCloud, and look at the success of the Series S. That's an all digital console. In fact, they're focused on digital and cloud gaming. And don't take this as a console war point. Sony is shipping their collector's editions of their games with no physical disc in the collector's edition. You get a digital code with the merchandise of the collector's edition of the new God of War Ragnarok. Nintendo, they do a lot of physical, but the Switch has more and more games that are only available on their cloud. So there's that. And PC is basically 100% digital at this point. And it's working out for PC because every time I turn around, Steam is having a new record for their concurrent player base. So obviously, digital is working really well for the PC platform. Digital is clearly growing, and my complaint is not about a digital future. It's the fact that the Call of Duty situation is when the consumers at the store, they think they're buying a physical copy of the game on a disc, but they're actually just buying a CD key that they can later trade, but there's nothing on that CD that they're able to access. They have to 100% download the game once they get home. What's actually kind of funny about this whole situation is we've gone from games locking DLC on the disc just about 10 years ago. You know, we had games like Street Fighter 4 and Mass Effect 3, just to name a couple, that actually had more content on the disc that later the developers or publishers try to be like, we have DLC coming out that you pay extra for to unlock the content that you already had at home. It's just crazy to think that in such a brief period of time, we've gone from publishers putting more content that you actually had to pay extra for, and people complained about that because that was disingenuous for consumers, to buying a physical copy of a game with nothing on the disc. So it's crazy how things could change in just one decade. So one thing I want to make very clear, this is not a rant video about boycotting Call of Duty or anything like that. I'm going to be honest, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about the new Call of Duty. I heard the game is phenomenal. This is more about me expressing concern that once again, we as consumers of gaming products are buying stuff that, you know, if there wasn't people out there putting this information out, you would never know the situation. And I feel like it's just another example of a company doing something that's very disingenuous. You don't have a choice of buying physical and digital with this game. You're buying it digitally. So the only difference is you go to the store and get the case, and you have an empty case with a digital code. And it's just another example of options being taken away from gamers, and that is something I don't really like. And speaking of options being taken away from us, I want to bring up super fast that for some reason the Xbox version and the PC version has forced crossplay. So I personally love crossplay. I think it's one of the best things to happen to gaming in a long time, but it should be a preference and you should have the option to turn it off. But for some reason, only the PlayStation version of the game has the ability for the player to disable the crossplay feature. I'm unsure if this is a bug or what the situation is, but hopefully this gets rectified relatively quickly so players across all platforms can make the choice if they want to have crossplay enabled or disabled. I'm all about player choice, and seeing options taken away is never a good thing for gamers. Alright guys, that's all I really gotta say on this topic. As for my thoughts, I'm not really scared of a digital future. Play a ton on PC and I'm 100% digital there. On my Xbox, I have the Series S, so I'm basically so far this gen have been 100% digital as well. My biggest gripe is that I think when consumers or us as gamers buy our product, we should still have the choice to buy physical. I understand that's very important for some people, and like I said before, it's not just about having a collection, it's about buying the game, going home, and knowing even if you don't have internet, you could play these offline campaigns and enjoy them. It's more about just informing people of what they're buying when they buy the disc version of this game. So that's all I really gotta say on it. I got a ton of work to do, so I'm gonna get back to the grind, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.